Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Write or Die Show. I'm your host, Randi-lee. On the show, we interview other writers and we talk about mental health from their personal journeys. If you have not already hit that like and subscribe button, go ahead, do that now so that you never miss an episode. Hello. So today we are back. I think I've worked out all the technical kinks. I hope so. Because apparently at the beginning she couldn't hear me, but now she can. So we are here. Let's welcome our guest. Hello.
Hello there. I can hear you loud and fine now.
And where are you joining us from?
From very, very rainy Scotland. It's actually the trees are like horizontal, and I thought it might be too loud outside to hear you, but it's okay.
Oh my goodness. I've never been to Scotland. I have been to Ireland once. And it was pretty rainy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's so beautiful and green, you know?
Yes, that is very true.
It's also the place where you cultivate your internal sunshine.
Oh, I like that. That's pretty.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, my name is Simone Moir. I'm also known as the inner terrain genie. I guide people inwards so they can find their soul's calling and they can kind of like follow that rather than trying to follow mainstream or good advice. So I strip people back to the basics. But you can only do that like coaching, when your roots are in the ground. And I have worked for many years with people that don't have the roots in the ground. And also, I didn't have my roots in the ground as well at some points in my life, I think, as we all have. So I work as a coach, mainly with menopausal women, because they are kind of like their hormones are messing with them. But I also work on the other hand side with the foster service, and I've worked with military personnel that have a real disconnect in families and things like that. So I work with the survival as well as with the growth, and they're two very different things. And today we're here to talk about the survival.
Oh, very nice. Okay, so that's what you do, and we're going to get more into that.
Mhm.
But who are you?
Who am I?
This is the hardest question of the entire episode,
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. So, well, I'm a mother of two. My first child is autistic, which which was much harder than I bargained for. All my life, I was born into it. So I can actually hear what people don't say, which was really handy because my child didn't speak till he was 5.5. I was the only one that could have wonderful conversations with him, and no one else could understand the poor chap. So that was really stressful. But I'm also feel really blessed.
Okay, so on that note, just because autism is always near and dear to my heart, so many people think that just because somebody can't talk, that they can't communicate. And I love how you said that you had wonderful conversations because you can have entire conversations without ever using your vocal cords.
Yep, very much so. Yes. And even though we went through speech therapy and all that, and it
Yeah.
took like for a long time for everyone to for people to understand him, probably until he was 10 or something like that. He was so that you could hear him. Um, I think a lot of the tools that I have came from that time because, like, well, I was married and I was told I can't have children. So, who do you marry when you're not planning on having children?
Somebody who doesn't want children.
Someone fun that you will never grow bored with. Well, I had that, but he so wasn't a family father. Bless his cotton socks. I love him dearly. It just wasn't happening, right? And then having a special need child on top of it was just not what he bargained for. On top of
Yeah.
it, he had a severe neck injury, which he's had because he was a cage fighter before he
Oh,
met.
okay.
It's just what you do, right? So
Mhm.
he actually harmed his neck so badly that it was just hanging by like the the nerves, the bones have disintegrated. And when I was 8 months pregnant, he needed a life-saving operation. And we didn't quite know if he would make it out, if he would be paralyzed from the neck down, or
Oh
uh,
my gosh.
recovery was fairly impossible. It was like a 3% chance of recovery. That was
And
pretty
did he
stressful.
recover?
Well, he's very lucky that he has a very determined woman on his side. I tried night and day everything I could learn about the nervous system and about necks, and we fixed him. He's absolutely fine. He now has 4 children, is remarried, and he did shape up. It was
Wow.
the right time in his 30s to do that. So,
Yeah.
but it worked out perfectly. But it was all on my shoulders. I was a single earner. I had a debilitated husband when I gave birth. Like, he could only hold the child for a very short period of time.
Oh my
Actually,
gosh.
at that time, I'm a yoga therapist.
Okay.
Therapist, so I did my yoga practice and my meditation, because otherwise I think I would have
Yeah.
I wouldn't have survived it. I've
Yeah.
only just survived it anyhow, but we talk about that later. But it was really kind of like, it was all on my shoulders, and there was no family around there, all in Canada or in Germany, so no one.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay,
I'm
so
keeping it up, you know.
yeah, so that was one question I was going to ask, was have you always lived in Ireland? Because your accent does not sound like you have.
Well, I'm German and native, but I've traveled a lot, and it's Scotland where I am, and that's
Oh, right, sorry. I'm the one that went to Ireland.
That's all right. That's all right. Yes, so we chose to be here, but we didn't quite choose a child. The child chose us.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was a really tricky time. Very, very difficult. So postnatal depression, extreme postnatal stress, like post-traumatic stress from the news of the neck, total sleep deprivation, as my child did not believe in sleep at all.
Oh my goodness, been there.
Right? You go
Yeah.
mad, right?
Yeah.
And what does your body do when it goes mad?
It just it dies a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so whew, that's a lot to unpack. But you said, hold on, I don't want to only talk about your one child, because that doesn't seem fair to the other one, because you said you
No,
have 2, right? So how's your other one doing?
it's therapy. From the word, like, even labor was difficult with the first one. It nearly killed me. I did a home birth, and it probably was a stupid idea because I have a phobia of hospitals, but
Okay.
it could have gone really wrong.
Yeah.
It was 38 hours in labor, and it was like, I was like close to dying. Like, and I know where I've had a near-death experience before, so I
Yeah.
kind of know the signs when my body is leaving.
Oh my gosh.
So it was very, very stressful. And the recovery
Yeah.
wasn't really easy either.
Oh
So my
my
first child, I was dancing, my partner was drumming, my new partner, he's a shamanic practitioner, and we just had a great time, and he just popped out into a birthing pool at home, no problem at all. So, and then he slept much better than the first one, like a normal child. And he has been picture book determined. He's a
Okay.
determined child, or a spicy one, or however you want to call them.
Yep.
But as I have extremely good parenting skills, we work it out very well.
Excellent.
Don't push him in a corner. You will lose. You know, you need to be clever to handle that child, but he's fine. And my 16-year-old, which was my baby, my first baby, he's amazing.
Oh, yay. That's so funny. My youngest, so my husband had one and I have one. So our youngest was the one I birthed. He's 16 right now. And
Oh,
he's the one that's got autism.
and how is he doing?
Fabulously, actually. He's in grade 12, so he's going to graduate this year. He's thinking about going to the baking program at college next year. He's going for his G2. So where I live, there's 3 steps to get your license. So he's got his beginners, Friday, he goes for the first road test part. His driving instructor says that she thinks that he can pass it as long as, nerves don't get to you.
Well,
That's
I
the
got
big
good
one.
tools for that one. I got
Right.
amazing tools for that one. So we can
Okay,
make
there
notes.
there
Can
we
share
go.
some notes after. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nerves is my forte. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, and he's been in therapy for a long time, so I think he does have a few tricks up his sleeve as well that he's learned. And but you know what? It took me 3 tries to get mine. So even if he doesn't pass, it's not a big deal because I didn't on the first couple too. So
Yeah. Cool. So
but
my
yeah,
boy in
awesome.
carpentry also a hands-on thing.
Oh,
So
good.
yeah.
That is awesome. All
Uh-huh.
right. So let's jump into our meat and potatoes of the interview. Start your story wherever makes the most sense for what we're going to be talking about, mental health.
Okay, cool. I love the topic ride or die, and it kind of like really it applies so much. I'm
My friend, I actually have to give my friend credit for naming the show. I cannot take credit for it, but I absolutely love it, and that's why I was like, yes, okay, it's mine now. Thank you for coming up with
I'm
that.
from a lineage of writers, so it always has been a way how we like journal and like
Exactly.
it's great. It's great to have that and to also find the words and to put them on paper by hand, not by typing. I'm a hand writer. Um,
Okay.
mhm. And I've not like I've published a little story, but then I met in a Zoom room in COVID. I've met lovely Dr. Patricia Kane, who is a wealth of knowledge and an inspiration on the field of suicide prevention. And she
Okay.
had a book in her, but she didn't have the skills or the confidence to take it out or far. And she didn't want to die with it inside of her. So I'm her birth doula.
Oh, that's exciting.
So she wrote little things, she spoke little things and wrote little things, and I kind of like put it together into a beautiful book called The Empowered Butterfly Method. Oh, and you can't see it. Oh, look at that.
Oh, it's so pretty. So those who are listening and not watching, she's got a very cute butterfly, like giant butterfly on her shirt. It's blue. I love it. It's very pretty.
So pretty. Yeah. And I have lovely flowers in my hair as well for people that don't
Oh,
see.
very nice. Yeah, I was rushing around, so it's lucky it's brushed.
Well, it's all about the balance, right?
Exactly. Okay. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna give the floor to you. Start your story about mental health.
Yeah.
And I'll
So
just pop in with questions randomly.
perfect. So the method that she has divined is really easy. And that is kind of like what really got me because I've used all those tools before. They're like CBT tools, yoga tools, and all that. And they just like randomly would have kind of like been recommended to my child, my clients, myself. So, what she has done, she's packed them all into a mental sequence of less than 5 minutes. It's 9 tools that all work, and they work so well because they are like stacked on top of each other and they're piggybacked on things you know how to do since you've been potty trained. So if you can go to the toilet, you can get from distress to hope in the time it takes to do so. And it's really simple. And the question is, would you like me to take you through the 9 steps so that we can share some gold?
We will, but first I want to hear your story.
Mhm.
Uh,
Well, about so suicide to me is a very interesting topic. Being pretty much the sanity for most people that are in my vicinity, the community. My partner was heavily lying on me. I was a mother, and I was kind of like the inspirational person everywhere I go, right? And I have this really strong spiritual practice, which would keep me safe and sane forevermore, because that's what I believed in. Till the day, and I just came out of a session motivating someone and being their sanity. I went to the toilet. There was no empowered butterfly method sticker on the toilet yet. And I realized there was a moment when my body took over. There was no common sense, no rhyme and reason, nothing anymore. And instead of going after the session as normally up the road home, I went to the train station, which was opposite. And I've heard an announcement that a fast train is coming through. And I knew, not in my head, my body was going to jump in front of that train. How I know that my brain wasn't there, it was after school. There were lots of kids and families there. It's a very messy way of getting out. I woke up that morning blessing the Lord that I'm alive, in total gratitude. I was just so exhausted, so thinly spread, and so superwoman-like that I just didn't pay any attention to my body or my actual reality. I was living in an alternate reality. And I need to be very careful with that because I leave my body behind since childhood when things get difficult. I just zone out and I go into this alternative happy place. And it's really interesting. I've never thought about suicide ever before. Never crossed my mind. There was I didn't plan it. It's not something like I would have been the person if someone wouldn't have grabbed me and held me literally back. That's why I'm still here. And that's why I needed to write the book, because there's obviously a reason why I'm still here. And I am living that reason why I'm still here every day. Every day I deliver gold.
So after you were pulled back and I guess maybe snapped back to reality, how did you feel?
I was in complete shock. I got dusted off and sent home, which in hindsight, I just thought like, surely that's not what you do with someone that was just about to jump in front of a train, right? You give them you talk to them.
Probably seen a doctor or something. Yeah.
Like crazy, right? This is like 16 years ago. And you think like, surely that must have been something that, you don't just dust someone off and send them off. So I was still in shock.
Yeah, I feel like nowadays we wouldn't, and 16 years ago doesn't seem like a long time, but it really was a long time ago in the grand scheme of mental health. It wasn't even 16 years ago, it wasn't taken as seriously as it is now. So I could see them, just go home, take a break. Even though it's a lot more than that, but that was kind of I'm guessing the mindset. Brush yourself off, go home, take a little nap, you'll be fine.
Yeah, there was no nap at home, by the way. I had 20 minutes sleep at a time and then a screaming baby. And that was still
really wouldn't help.
No, really doesn't help. And a husband that if I go home and say I'm just about to have nearly thrown myself in front of a train, he would have gone into absolute meltdown because I was the only one standing.
Yeah.
So did I tell anyone?
No.
Did I start telling people by publishing my story in a book? And do you know how liberating that was 16 years later? Like my besties, my sister, no one heard about that story.
Oh my goodness. I think that is such I'm getting like shivers. It's such a common issue with people, right? Is we don't tell them. Like it took me I was probably with my husband quite a few years before I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna off myself. Right? Like, and I tell him everything except for that until, eventually, but it took a lot of years. And I think that's so common. A lot of guests that I talk to, whether it's a suicide attempt, thoughts of it, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, they don't talk about it. But once they do, they say the same thing that you do, whether it's to a friend or a counselor or in a book. They say the same thing. It's just like, wow. It's just this big release because you keeping it all bottled in, it's I always like to think of it as you got to pop and you shake up the pot because your insides are all shaken up, all traumatized, all stressed out, whatever. And then when you tell somebody, you lift up that tab and woof, everything sprays out and it's just, and then you can simmer down.
Yeah. So now I talk on stages about suicide. With my book, I've traveled, and it's an international bestseller in 5 countries. It's amazing. It's but I could not at the time see that amazing because all I had was shame. So who am I to tell other people how to live if I just wanted to just pop myself there, right? So
Right.
it's like this dirty secret as a public yogi, a public
Right.
figure of inspiration. It doesn't match.
Yeah. Okay. So that happened. You went home. You didn't tell nobody for 16 years. Within those 16 years, um, what did you try to kind of keep yourself grounded, kind of keep yourself here, other than yoga? Because if you're a yogi, obviously that's in there.
Yeah. So it was one big message that came for me, and that was Superwoman nearly killed you. Stop being Superwoman.
I
Ask
love
for
it.
help.
I love that.
And
I'm
that,
gonna quote that in something.
I know that was difficult to admit. Um, I don't know if you know anything about human design. I'm a manifestor in human design. They are like hardcore. They don't really need to sleep. They are like superhuman. And
Oh, I need sleep.
I know, but only to a certain extent. But they can really go through the most craziest situation and still be productive within it. And that's that's a curse and a gift. So unless you actually learn how to pause, that is what can happen. Exactly that. It's a high functioning suicidal people that are living amongst us.
And I will say because I've done over 150 interviews now with people, that is the biggest thing. It's high functioning um, alcoholics, people who are addicted, high functioning suicide thoughts. Like we just do whatever we have to do throughout our day, and yet we're still thinking about all of those other issues that are kind of dragging us down. They're always there, but we slap on that smile and just truck along until eventually we don't.
Yeah. So vulnerability has been something that I've been teaching ever since. I made people cry. I take people for rage release into the highlands, into the mud, and they just scream.
Oh, that would be so cool. That would be a nice place to do it.
There's no one around. It's like we not have normal mud. We have mud that has been fermented because it's always muddy, right? It's like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
mud you ever came across. It's as sticky as nothing. You look like a monster afterwards, but
Oh,
like,
that's funny.
oh my God, is it valuable? So it's all about expressing emotions. So rather than meditating and trying to stay cool, it's the opposite. Like I've really revolutionized my yoginess, and
That's
I'm
awesome.
probably harder to be with because I actually express my emotions and I'm not just like meditate them away. I
Right.
have strong boundaries. And when they are overstepped, I have a strong reaction to those boundaries. But it's a bit like I like to teach it that way. When someone kind of like stands in the room looking at you, you're okay. But if someone stands an inch away from you and you ask them to please back off and they don't, what do you suppose? You can ask politely to back off a few times, but there is a point where you actually need to say, back off. And sometimes
Right.
that needs to be in a louder voice than a yogi voice. And I've claimed that. It's a new thing and it's liberating.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, that's really good. So we are gonna get to those points that you were talking about. I just have one more question for you before we get there. Unless, of course, you have anything else to add, then feel free to. But my question is for people who are listening right now that are kind of, they just had a baby, and they're really struggling what piece of wisdom would you give them?
Mhm. Actually, I'm just tonight on a summit for families, and my number one nugget is it's called the open heart parenting. And you can relate that to your inner child, because I do inner child work as well with people, as well as your family child, your physical child. And it is watching a child do crazy things, because they do. And instead of telling them off, going, now that's interesting that you do it like that. Show me exactly how you do it. Like throwing a tantrum. Let your child show you how to throw a tantrum and learn from them and throw it with them. If your child doesn't want to wear the jacket, which we just had like the other day, I had to go to school because my 9-year-old didn't want to wear his jacket and it was chucking it down, right? So I could wrestle, I could threaten, I could bargain, I could bribe, but none of that works with this wonderful child. So I need to become super curious and just try to get into his head and see his side of the story. And just like, tell me why this is reasonable, right?
Yeah.
Make me understand you, rather than I or the school has this opinion that you need to wear a rain jacket when it's chucking it down, right?
Yep.
Making that the thing to obey to, letting that go. And I learned that through having an autistic child, because rhyme and reason
Whew.
just didn't, nothing applied. Nothing logic didn't apply.
I always found we used to call it well, before he changed his name. So we used to call it Tisha Logic. I guess it would be Levin Logic now. I just haven't said that yet. But that's what we used to go. There was always logic behind it, but it didn't mean we knew what it was.
And it's incredible. And if you give your child, your inner child, that sometimes has a strop, or your other child, just a curiosity with a bit of sprinkle of humor,
Yeah.
right? We can actually get through this together. So we now have the agreement that on his way home, he doesn't need to wear a jacket because he gets home and he can get changed. On the way to school, he wears a jacket because he would be sitting wet in the school all day. It makes
Makes
sense.
sense.
But
Yeah.
he wants, the reason why he wants to have the jacket off is to have a feeling of freedom. Wow.
Hey.
Right?
As long as he can change when he gets to where he's going and he's not gonna get sick from the rain, I mean, it's not hurting anybody.
And that was his argument. Mom, have I ever missed a day in school being ill? It's like, nope. Why do you worry? Reasonable, right?
Yeah.
So I then said that to the teacher. Look at the logbook. He's never missed a day sick in school. Not ever. In 4 years, 5 years nearly, right? So, like, back off. He knows what he's doing. He knows it better than I do, because I might have had a sniffle here and there and he never got it. I had COVID 3 times and he had never gotten it. Never.
Isn't that crazy how it happens? I had it twice. My husband never got it.
And I have a very strong immune system. So it
I don't.
was no problem at all, but I did have it. I tested positive.
Yeah.
So just like, trust your children. Give them the ability, the benefit of the doubt that they actually know. And we as adults, we are removed from our knowing. I teach menopausal women to be like my son again. Reinvent the wheel. Forget what you've always thought is good.
Right. I love that. Okay, so now I'm gonna give you the stage again, and you can take us through these 9 steps.
Wonderful. Fantastic. So it really starts with, let's say, so you do the method for a week every time you go to the loo, so that it ingrains itself. So that when there's a situation where you need to remove yourself from because you get triggered and you know you're a bit vulnerable, you know how to do it. You got the muscle. Okay, so I will tell you the 9 steps. The first step is remove yourself from a triggering situation. And if you were to say, excuse me, I just need to go and breathe a little, people don't really respond to that very well. So our code word is, please excuse me to the bathroom. I need to go to the bathroom now. And it's like it's like sesame open. Everyone steps away and you can go to the bathroom. That's your timeout. First one, empowered is the acronym. So that's E for exit. M stands for move. While you're physically moving, you're moving your breath into your belly. That doesn't always work, but you will always physically move. So just like if the belly doesn't happen, we bring one hand on the belly, one on the chest, and invite the breath down. Cool. The next one is P for pivot. So our mind might go into all directions that we don't like, down the rabbit hole. So we want to grab that mind and make it do something. On the inhale, we say, I am. On the exhale, we say, relaxed. So we're kind of like holding the reins. So that's a P of empowered. O, so we go to the loo, lock the door, sit on the pan. You can do it like authentically or with your clothes on. It's fine, but you sit on the pan. And the on-off, so O is for on-off, is a progressive relaxation piece. You squeeze your legs, hold your breath, squeeze, 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 and relax. Like squeeze your core, squeeze everything you got there. Squeeze, 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 hold your breath till you can't hold anymore, and relax. And then squeeze your face and your throat, and maybe your hands a bit more, actually your whole body, whatever is left, and you let that go. So that is progressive relaxation. It's backed up, researched, and it helps you breathe deeper. By that time, you will be breathing into your belly. That was the O of empowered. Then we have the W for way out. We take all the mental yuck, all the bad thoughts, all the self-harming thoughts, and let them drain down the brain, into the back, down the spine, into the pan, where the natural yuck would go. And we do that for as long as we need. And we're empty. We have a feeling of emptiness. So the next one after way out is another E, and that's envision. So whenever there's a void, we need to fill it. And we fill it with positive thoughts by establishing a happy place, happy thoughts, and a scenery where you would just like to beam yourself in and there's nothing threatening and you can think of lots of good things. So that needs to be practiced in that week so you can get to there very, very easily. So nature will fill the void with more yuck unless you actually put something in there like light in there so the place is no longer available. R is release, and you just finish your business and then flush. It's an auditory sign so that all the yuck is gone. It's like down the pan. And then we have the, did I miss one? Release was a thing. And then E is end all. End all, you go to wash your hands and you do it just a little bit slower to embody yourself again, to feel yourself again, and to see yourself in the mirror. And you can smell the lovely soap and you can just be proud of yourself that you've broken a habit and used the technique. And then you go out of the bathroom with better posture, in a different state of mind, with a plan in mind. So the plan is either doing something good for you, like asking for support or having some water if you've been dehydrated, or some food, maybe you've been hangry, any like action step, or to ask for help and call a hotline if you don't have someone that can speak to you. And that's the 9 steps.
I like it. What I like about it is that it's super easy, takes you out of the situation, and it's super easy. And when you say I need to go to the bathroom, nobody questions that, right? Everybody's got to go to the bathroom. So there's no questions, right? It's like, oh, okay, yeah, go pee, go do your thing. I like that.
Voila, just go.
Right? Exactly. Oh, when I was in therapy, one of the things that my therapist did say was that technique of the scrunch everything up and release it. That was one of those pointers that she gave. So when you were talking about that one, I was like, yes.
But
Oh,
they're
that,
so quick. And if you actually
yeah.
practice them, so we have an audio for free on the website called the empoweredbutterflymethod.com. Free audio and a free flow chart for anyone in stress. They can use it right then and there. The audio is 5 minutes and explains it, right? So if you actually practice it, it's no longer than your normal, there will be no queue in front of the bathroom. It might take a little bit more to start off with to establish your happy place and to get the, but like really, you could squeeze everything and just let
Yeah.
it go in one breath when you've
Yeah.
practiced.
That's awesome. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing it. So I mean, we've already been talking about the book, obviously. So is there anything else that you want us to know about this book?
Yeah. So the book is not for the one that's in dire distress because I won't be reading a book. It's a bite-sized book. It's small chapters, big writing. So it's an easy read book, right? Simple English, nothing, no jargon, right? But it is more like for the one that supports, for the mother with a stressed child, for the support worker. And we will also train people in it. And we're just about to run a pilot in a school where the older kids can teach the younger kids and create a legacy. So they actually might have saved lives before they even go to high school. How
That's
beautiful is that?
cool.
I
Yeah.
know. And give those teenagers something to do and a purpose, right?
Right? Yeah.
We are at the first stages of that. So the book is out, and we are looking at how we can get it into organizations, into education, into families. We would like to make it the Heimlich maneuver for mental health. Because of what
Oh, yeah.
gets stuck with the thing in the throat, they can't do it to them, right?
Yep.
Like you don't do the Heimlich maneuver to yourself. You need someone that knows about it that then helps you and might save your life. So that's the same with the book and the movement. It's like we need
that.
society to understand this, not just the end user, because the end user might actually need to be taken through a dry run. You know, the end user might not look on the internet and might not be on this podcast. So,
Right?
but
Yes.
you all know someone that's struggling. I can guarantee you that if you think you don't know someone that's struggling, look harder.
Hmm. I love it. And okay, so where do people pick up their copy of it?
Well, Amazon, the Amazonian rainforest.
Right?
No, you can just put it in Empowered Butterfly Method into Amazon. It has a toilet and a butterfly on the cover. There's
I
no
like
other
it.
like that. It's blue. Yes, that's where you get your copy. It's free on Kindle. It's a bargain. We keep it cheap so that everyone can have a copy. Give one away while you're getting one. Give one
Right?
to your
I was
adult.
about to say that. I was about to say this seems like the perfect little gift away.
It's perfect to gift away. It's a perfect gift away. And you can gift it and say, I hope you never need it, but well, is it useful to have?
Right, exactly. And where do people follow you?
Well, my coaching is on Melt My Stress. .com. No, just like meltmystress.com. I work internationally in several time zones. I work with women only, as my brain is female and I do understand the female brain, and we can work much better with intuition. Why not use our tools that we have beside the curses of periods and menopause and all that? You know, we actually have muscles in our brain that are unique to us, and also our hormones are unique to us. And there's no such thing as a curse in menopause. It is a gift when we actually learn to understand it.
Okay, I love it. Um, oh, I'm about to sneeze.
Bless
um,
you.
right. So is there any last words that you want to say before we say goodbye?
Look after yourself by looking and connecting to your inner child. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please just book a free call with me, 20 minutes. And I can, rather than tell you about it, I can connect you guys together again. It's the most bestest parenting tool is having a good relationship with your inner child. And it's really important for any hurdle in life. And it makes you so much stronger, so much more competent, and it matures you instantly. So you actually learn to make better choices for yourself.
I love it. As always, thank you so much for the amazing guests that we have on the show. Be sure to check out their links down in the description below. If you want to support the channel, go ahead and check out our merch store. We've got some very cool things on there. That's my favorite. Sorry, I'm busy ending the stigma. But there's some other very cool designs. 10% of the proceeds always goes back to the Canadian Mental Health Association. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at RB Media because we have some great new shows coming up and you never want to miss any of those episodes. And remember, the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly. Bye.